mics here.
No, and here it's calm.
My name is Benjamin Quinto. I've just turned 21, and I'm trying, along with many others, to organize a modern-day youth movement. It's a global effort, and in May 1999, I traveled to Holland to attend the Hague Appeal for Peace. I had a lot of expectations going into the Hague Appeal for Peace. I was going to coordinate 2 of the core sessions, and to participate in others, and I would finally meet many of my email friends in real life, or as real as life can get when you pack 8,000 peace activists into a convention center. And the conference had even become more relevant, as Europe had gone into full-scale war in the Balkans. So I was jazzed, very excited. I mean, I hated the war, but this could spark a new youth movement. I could see it all.
Bye bye war, no more killing, no more fighting. We want peace, love, unity.
100 years ago in The Hague, the Tsar of Russia and the Queen of the Netherlands convened the world's first peace congress. 26 nations came, and that conference and the subsequent one in 1907 laid the foundation for the Permanent Court of Arbitration, the International Court of Justice, what later became the League of Nations, and eventually the United Nations. We could not allow this most war-filled, violent century go by without giving peace the last word.
Of the nearly 8,000 people here this week, 1,500 are young. The heart of this conference is the young people, because the next century is yours.
We had very terrible times when there were political situations and there was no peace at all. From today on, I'm hoping that from the conference I've attended, I will be empowered to go to my country, Lesotho, and then tell the youth about true peace.
Do you guys have the schedule?
Yeah, they gave that out this morning.
Cool. It says Children's United Nations because the other co-sponsoring organization is called that. So basically we're just calling the roundtable together, and it's going to be intergenerational. We're going to have youth and adults there. At this conference, the potential that we have is that there's a message already here.
Yeah.
There's a message and there's an opportunity. Look at the world, what's going on. We're facing, my God, some pretty scary circumstances right now. And what is this conference all about?
I'm going to just read portions from an essay that I wrote, which came out in India last year after the nuclear tests. If protesting against having a nuclear bomb implanted in my brain is anti-Hindu and anti-national, then I secede. I hereby declare myself an independent, mobile republic. a citizen of the earth. I own no territory. I have no flag. My policies are simple. I'm willing to sign any nuclear non-proliferation treaty or nuclear test ban treaty that's going. Immigrants are welcome.
I would love to hear from you guys a little bit more about the foundation of Nation One, how it got started, why you guys are involved, and what is your vision in participating in it.
Well, I thought Nation One was a place where youths could gather together and talk about issues they wanted to talk about. And it was a focal point so youths could have their view in the governments of the world.
I think the most important thing of Nation One is to be somewhat of an umbrella organization to give people the chance to communicate.
We have to not concentrate anymore on figuring out what Nation One is, or revising the declaration. I mean, of course that's a good idea, but I think we have to focus more on action and how we could actually do what Nation One is supposed to do, and not decide what Nation One should do. Yeah. Okay.
Perhaps we should start having some policies.
What do you mean policies?
Well, policies on certain matters. Child labour.
Policies.
Kosovo,
What kind of policies?
Well, where do we stand on those issues?
Nation One to me is about is a network, a supportive network, where you know that you can take these local actions on your not on your own, but you can carry out different actions in your own local area. And Nation One is the place where you can come back and you can discuss those actions. You can discuss with other people all over the world and get their input on certain things.
An event like Kosovo happens, we use this junior journal, we use the different polls, we use to get we get opinions, and a group of people formulates a statement, and the statement is a stand. I mean, like you said, the whole of Nation One can't agree, and you can't have an official everyone in Nation One thinks like this. But we can use the statistics, and we can use the comments from the people, and that would be a stand.
When we went to the International Court of Justice, not everyone agreed whether we wanted to stop the bombing in Kosovo or keep it up, but we all agreed that we did want peace, and that's what we went to speak for.
So that's a stand.
I mean, it's a stand, but it's
a weak stand.
Let's think about why we entered this thing in the first place. Wasn't it to make a difference? It was to make a difference, and that's by everybody. That's the interest that everybody had. That's what motivated everybody, and that's why we came home to 200 emails per day. Yeah. But sometimes I stop and I say, what is this? What's sitting down in front of the computer for 5 hours really doing to somebody who is starving on the road that I want to help? That's why I entered it in the first place. I want to help that person.
What we are doing here is very symbolic, and somebody may be looking at us and say, what impact will it have with all these great powers, individuals, companies that are manufacturing arms, rebel groups that are using arms? How will our effort have any impact at all? And there is a story of a man who was riding on a horse along one of those small paths, and he came across, he saw a tiny little bird lying on its back with its leg pointing to the sky. And the horseman stood there and said, what are you doing? And he said, are you the only one that doesn't know that the sky is going to fall? I say, so if it's going to fall, what are you doing? He said, I am putting up my legs in order to hold the sky. But if you can get down from your horse, and if the horse can lie on its back, and if our neighbor can do that, if all of us can lie down and hold we shall be able to hold the sky. So our hope here is, as that little bird, we are putting up our hands in appeal, in our cry, and we hope there will be many hands that are going and voices that will go from here so that echoes will be heard in the corridors of power.
I do feel that we are doing a lot of amazing work, as you said, and I do feel that our work is so powerful that it should naturally be heard by people in positions of power. But what we have to realize is that we can't wait on them to wake up one morning and decide, oh, they're saying something really important. Let's just listen to them and let their opinions influence what we decide. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to wake up one day and miraculously realize that, wow.
I just wanted to talk about some of the projects that we do at Global Kids. One that's very dear to most of us. It's the Empowerment Project. One of our students who happened to be homeless wanted to do a project on homelessness, which is a big issue in New York City. We volunteered at shelters. We created an empowerment book, not just by ourselves, but with the help of the women that we were volunteering with. We also created 2 videos on homelessness, and the women worked the cameras. They did the interviews. So I don't necessarily think that young people do not have power. It's just what you consider power, and what I consider power is direct local action and just taking an initiative.
I'll just give you a bit more background on our project. We were set up by MIT last year, in Massachusetts Institute of Technology, in a global online forum that connected over 1,000 groups and individuals in 139 countries. This cost quite a lot of money, understandably, because we had to connect all the people in small remote communities around the world. But anyway, it happened.
Many people don't have internet access. For example, it's probably worse in Africa. In my country, it's Croatia. It's middle of Europe somehow, but many people don't have computer access.
People just hear computer. They've not even seen computer with their own eyes. They may be in secondary schools. So please, you the youth in the northern hemisphere, you have a lot to do for us in the southern hemisphere. We will go back down there to send a message, but you will help us by putting pressure on your people out here to tell them that the thing that they've taken from Africa during the colonial era, they must pay back to us. We are suffering now. We don't hate those people in the northern hemisphere. No, at all. We see you as partners in development. But I'm also, when I look back in Africa, where I'm coming from, where 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people have to sleep in one single room, when we have no access to even simple paper to write, go to school and people study under trees.
We have 48 hours before the United Nations Secretary General comes, and I recommend we have a set of demands for him as a youth for peace speak.
We're here from so many places, and I mean, we're gonna write a letter. That's great, but if we want to heal all the things that all of us want, it's just gonna be heal the world, because there's so many things that we can change, but you just can't write it all down in a letter. So we're gonna write a letter to Kofi Annan telling him we want this world to be better. He knows that. He wants that too. What I can tell you that we can do, and what this is about, is that I'm Israeli, and this girl that's with me right here is Palestinian, and we're here together, and that's what it's all about. And second thing I want to tell you all is that what you can do is go back and not say, okay, I'm a part of a really big group of people that care about the world. No, say I think that you're the only one that cares. And when you think that, you'll take all the responsibility in your community on yourself. And that means going and arranging meetings between Palestinians and Israelis, Albanians and Serbs, and so many others. It means going to your community, going to kindergarten, and just, giving them activities to do and not just sit down and watch and hear the bombs falling down. And so many other things. So just take the responsibility on yourself and not global-wise. Thank you.
My name is Vedran from the Sarajevo Drum Orchestra, and I survived the siege of Sarajevo and the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I was a child when the war broke out, and I appreciated all the help that was given to children in Bosnia during the wartime. But now that I'm older, I use music workshops with Sarajevo Drum Orchestra to heal myself and the children in my country.
Behind the drums of peace lurked the ever-present drumbeat of the Kosovo War. Like most peace activists, I was horrified by the ethnic cleansing, but thought the bombing would accomplish nothing. Debate over the NATO campaign had divided the conference. But some young refugees from the war zone made me realize that the situation was quite a bit more complicated.
So we have now problems because of the situation in Yugoslavia and Kosovo to give the trainings to the ex-Yugoslavia partners, because we cannot expect of them to come from the bombing Belgrade or come from refugee camps in Macedonia or Albania and to speak with each other. We cannot expect that. So first we have to wait for fightings to stop, and then maybe step by step, but it's really, really difficult, and it will take, I don't know how many years more. Thank you.
I'm Tiana. Hi, Tiana. Benjamin Quinto.
Yes.
And just as you said, what we're trying to do is bring a collective voice behind a common cause. So we're not all speaking about different things.
All these people coming from abroad, they have to come.
Tiana's been a student in Belgrade. She's been very active in the anti-war campaign, which was a campaign against the war in Kosovo. And over a year ago, before the conflict began, organized demonstrations to reopen the University of Pristina. Tiana went from Belgrade to join them, so she's been very, very courageous. And I'd like to hear from her about her experiences living in Belgrade when the war began.
First of all, I would like to say that I feel pretty uncomfortable, like being the only person from Belgrade here. As far as I know, there is no one else. Oh, okay, thanks. It means a lot, because it would be such a big responsibility for me to speak in the name of all the people who are still there. Secondly, with all my respect and with all my compassion with the people of Kosovo, both to them, to those who left the country and those who are still wandering there, I would like to speak a bit more about the situation in the rest of the country, because there is a question of the destruction of the country and the civil victims. What about the country? What about the ordinary citizens? The next question is, what about all these refugees? And there are nearly 1 million refugees from Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina who have already suffered one war, who were already forced to leave, who have somehow found some shelters, some roofs over their head. What about them who are now suffering the same thing again?
I am Janeza Budima. I'm 24 years old. I came from Pristina, but here in Holland I came from Macedonia, where I'm staying now, I think now 3 weeks. And I am like 100,000 Albanian people from Kosovo. I'm a refugee. In 2 of April we was pushed from home, and we was pushed in a border with Macedonia. We didn't know how much food to take with us, because we didn't know that the border, Macedonian border, would be closed. So after 1 week that I was there, then come police and soldiers, Serbian, and said, now our government is guarantee your life and you can go back in Pristina.
It was very hard to change completely your life in just 24 hours. To not be allowed to go outside, to have a drink and chat with your friends. But now, because now you can't chat in public about all the things you have in your head. Because now you can sit in the basement and watch the TV if there is electricity. Because now you're sitting with your family and you're waiting for bomb to drop on your house, because we see how many mistakes now are happening.
So after I was going back in Pristina, it was really, there was less people, because more of them was pushed in Albania, and they was also in Macedonia, so I was alone, completely alone. I didn't have no one from my family.
Our bridges, my town had 3 beautiful bridges, they're all destroyed. One part of my town cannot be connected now with another part of the town. Our schools don't work. We don't have media. Our electricity system was broken down. Please, if you said that you are not responsible for this, what is happening, also you are saying this is happening to you from the bombing starting. So you have to go downstairs your building, but you are not afraid that someone will come in your door and to kill you. So this experience is 1 month. We have this 10 years now, so please. And now another, this is a question. If you are not, you people, civilian people, you are not responsible for that. If you are, you don't know if you are with a Milosevic or not. I can just say that we are responsible for our government as much as all those people, all of you who are from NATO countries responsible for NATO action. Nothing.
Do you see Milosevic as responsible for what's happened or NATO?
I think both. Both are very responsible. I mean, the only responsible for what's happening now.
This morning, our minds are focused especially on what is happening here in Europe. At the end of this century, the scourge of war has returned with a vengeance to the continent which produced 2 world wars in the first half of this century. During this decade, we have witnessed in the former Yugoslavia scenes which Europe thought it had left behind forever in 1945. And in the last 2 months in Kosovo, those scenes have reached ghastly proportions. Who amongst us, seeing and hearing of these sins, has not burnt with indignation? Who amongst us has not felt that something must be done to stop it? Something swift, forceful, and effective. And yet, who amongst us is not also troubled by the implications for world order and for the United Nations itself?
Actually, I had very mixed feelings, despite the fact that, I've been involved in peace actions before. But I thought, what you do with a man like Milosevic, and they had tried years and years of negotiation with him, and the negotiation hasn't worked. So I thought maybe we did have to do some bombing, but it's gotten so bad, with destroying the whole structure of cities, and so that who suffers but the people? I mean, Milosevic is still there.
Milosevic had planned this program, in fact, while the peace negotiations were supposedly going on. And I think those of us who are committed pacifists need to understand how difficult it may be to you personally, that here the diplomatic peace process, in fact, was used for the agenda of preparing an ethnic cleansing campaign and executing it at the time that the NATO military action started.
The NATO airstrikes against Kosovo have been done on the authority of NATO only, and they're outside the scope of international law. So I'm quite concerned that the bombing needs to stop immediately, and there needs to be an accord between the Kosovars and NATO on the one hand, and between the government of Yugoslavia on the other hand.
What I'm hearing from people, it's really make me so sad. That make me to feel that it's no hope anymore. That nobody cares for Albanian people that are still inside. Because I hear that someone, not someone, there are more of them that are asking to NATO to stop bombing. Okay, they can stop. What will be then? They will believe again in Milosevic's word. We will never believe anymore in such things, because our people are dying there. Our people was killed there, and we cannot believe anymore if we don't see nothing that's happened concretely. This is, I cannot understand how people can speak here for peace. They are calling, everybody here is calling for peace, but I don't see here anything that have to do with peace, because if you want to have peace in the world, you must be first free. because you cannot have peace never if you are not free. It's impossible.
Blood in all the streets, running like a flood. There's nowhere to hide, nowhere that I can go. I reach out my hand, touching death itself. Just a holy day in Sarajevo. I can feel my heart pounding like a clock, hiding from the planes and from the bombing. Fire in the sky, burning down my life. There is no more love and no more longing. But when I close my eyes, I dream of peace. I dream of flowers on the hill. I dream I see my mother smiling. When I close my eyes, I dream of peace.
And we have to work very hard for the peace in our country, because the majority of the women are being affected by the war, and we are 65% of the populations heading family of our own. Our children are being killed, our husbands, our people, and because of this we are appealing to the world that they should think of the war of Sudan, because this is the longest war on earth, which is 43 years that we are on war.
There has been a qualitative shift in the nature and conduct of warfare. All the major armed conflicts in the world today almost are civil wars, lasting years, if not decades. A key feature is the demonization of the so-called enemy community. The village has become the battlefield and civilian population the primary target. It is against this background that today fully 90% of the casualties in ongoing conflicts are civilian populations, mainly women and children.
The situation as it stands is that there are currently 300,000 child soldiers fighting today. Some of those children are being kidnapped and then forced into becoming soldiers. Some are psychologically molded into, quote, killing machines. Children who become soldiers sometimes do it due to a lack of options and guidance and education, and they see that as their only choice. Our ultimate goal really is that there would be no need for any soldiers in the world, child or otherwise. That is hopefully possible, but not an immediate goal. So in the meantime, we'd like to have an internationally recognized age of 18 as a minimum so that younger people can't be fighting. We'd like all children everywhere to feel safe and be able to act like children. We'd like to limit the small arms trade, and we'd like people who employ child soldiers to be stopped.
My name is Andy Kanyako Jr. I come from Freetown, Sierra Leone, in West Africa. I am the head of a youth organization that works with and for ex-child combatants. We use music as a medium to preach the message of peace in our war-torn society. Now there are thousands of demobilized child combatants in various camps all over the country. We get traditional African instruments, we mobilize the children, we get them to write out peace songs, and then we go to various communities where we preach the message of peace. But the unique thing is that it is usually these ex-child combatants, the children themselves, who do the singing, who do the dancing, who do the preaching of the peace.
We render help to them in our only two ways. We try to let them feel accepted in the society again.
22 minutes, a landmine kills or maims an innocent person, destroys a vital food source, or simply explodes, frightening children. Song Kosal is 13 years old and was the first person to sign the People's Landmine Treaty in Ottawa.
I don't want any more war. I don't want to see any more landmines. I don't want to see any more landmine victims in the world.
When those of us 5-6 years ago decided to launch the international campaign to ban landmines, we launched it because it was the right thing to do. We launched it so that there would not be more children who would have to live the ravages of wars long past. We did not wait for others to tell us that we should lead the world to a mine-free world. We did it because we saw the damage, we knew we could make a difference, and we took the lead on the issue.
For the first time in the UN's history, in 1997, one slot was given in the General Assembly for youth. But the Commission for Sustainable Development is so huge that it focuses on youth, environment, education, peace, disarmament, and there is already existing groups within the CSD which are there, which have a layout and a framework, and they meet every year. And instead of duplicating the energies that have already been created, I think we should merge.
What worries me basically is that we have all these organizations, yet there is the powerlessness that is there, and this is what that is going to change. We have all these organizations, but I'm at school normally, I see all these things, I feel powerless. That's what we're going to change now, and that's what we have to do.
So why don't we now say who wants to do that? And
My time at The Hague, while sometimes frustrating and always hectic, was extremely valuable. Many contacts were made, much organizing was done, and our plans for a global youth assembly began to take shape.
Are we sure it doesn't?
United Nations of Youth Foundation.
We agreed on a list of proposals for Kofi Annan, which offered a youth perspective on some concrete steps towards peace.
It makes me feel so good to see all these organizations who are actually doing something practical, because we've been to I've been to several workshops now and lectures, and you see it's a lot of like blah blah, just theory and describing what's all wrong in the world. Well, the world knows what's wrong really. I mean, and I think it's up to the youth to really make an example of how to say how it can be right, and things like to respect one another's background, to really be each other's friends, and so to get in small groups, get racial unity and do things together from different classes, and to sort of set an example to your village, to your city, to your nation, to the world, what it can be like to be friends. And later on they will marry each other and have kids together, and those kids, they will be from so many different backgrounds, they really cannot say what culture they're from. They'll just say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a world citizen. That's all I can do.
5 young people have been elected by youth groups all over the world to present the Hague Agenda for Peace and Justice to Secretary General Kofi Annan.
Good morning, everybody. We're here this morning to represent the diverse, energized, and unified voice of youth at the Hague Appeal for Peace. We came here to discuss peace, and we did. We came here to act for peace, and we have.
1. Education for peace, human rights, and democracy. 2. Protect and respect children and youth. 3. Stop the use of child soldiers. 4. Eliminate community violence at the local level. Involve youth in political processes and encourage better integration of youth and their elders. We support the campaign of our fellow youth to outlaw small arms. 5, the empowerment of the youths.
Africa, me say make we unite, make we come together for the sake of the children, the old mommy them and the old daddy them. Make we come together, no need to fuss and fight. We came from the same mother and father, so don't kill your brother, nor your sister. You wage a war, you gonna kill one another. If you kill one another, it's a sin to the father. In your bond we done, we bring stone and fire. So let's come together, let we walk as one. So we say bye bye war, no more killing, no more fighting. We want peace, love, unity. So mankind is one. So says of 1990, this is the time to abolish war. Bye bye war, no more killing, no more fighting. We want peace, love, unity. So mankind is one. So says of 1990, this is the time to abolish war. Bye bye war, no more killing, no more fighting. We want peace, love, unity. So mankind is one.
Thank you, Peacelings, for especially preparing this song for the Hague Appeal for Peace.